Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sasha Luke. I'm going to be talking to you guys about cheating scandals in sports. And I'll be talking to you about two major scandals that both occurred in baseball. First is the Houston Astros sign stealing scandal, and the second is going to be the steroid era. I'll get further into those in a minute, but first I want to talk to you guys about the history of cheating in sports. Cheating's basically been happening in sports for as long as sports have been going on. The first scandal really being the Black Sox scandal in 1918. The Black Sox basically threw the World Series away to players because they had an incentive to do so. They made bets with other people that if they lost the World Series on purpose, they would get paid a lot of money. As a result, Major League Baseball banned all those players for life. They were never allowed to play again, never allowed to attend a game or anything. Today, there's more major issues like doping, deflating balls, and stealing signs electronically from teams, which sport commissioners have been trying to crack down on to alleviate all the cheating and just have a fair playing field for all teams. So the Houston Astros sign stealing scandal is a scandal that began in 2017 and went into 2018. It wasn't revealed until 2019 in October that they were doing this. This was done so by a former pitcher for the Astros who said that the team would steal signs electronically by setting up a camera in their center field, and it would be focused on the catcher's signs. So the catcher always gives signs before he asks for a pitch, so he'll put up like one finger for a fastball, two fingers for a slider, and so on. And then what the Houston Astros would do, they would bang a trash can in the dugout however many times to decipher which pitch was coming. They would bang it once if it was a breaking ball. They wouldn't bang it at all if it was a fastball, and all the players that were batting knew right before the pitch was coming, so they knew what to expect, when to expect it. And it really just gave the whole team an unfair advantage that no one else had. So I have a video here, which I'm not going to show because I don't think I'll be able to show it, but it will be in my PowerPoint. And the video basically shows them in a game where you can hear the trash can banging, and it lines up with which pitch is coming every time. And I basically confirmed to MLB when they did their investigation that, yeah, the Astros were cheating. They tried to gain an unfair advantage, and they should have never done that. So more into MLB's investigation, they went through 70,000 emails and conducted over 70 interviews with players, coaches, and staff members. They concluded that the Astros did steal signs from 2017 to 2018, and they weren't sure if they used it in the 2019 season, but it is highly expected that they did. So yeah, they came to conclusion that bench coach Alex Cora and then player Carlos Beltran were the masterminds behind this whole sign stealing scandal, and as a result, Alex Cora and Carlos Beltran both lost their jobs with their new teams that they were with. Houston Nationals manager AJ Hinch and their general manager Jeff Lunhow both got suspended for a year. They were later fired by the organization. And the team was also fined $5 million. They lost multiple draft picks. However, they did win the World Series in 2017, the year they were using the sign stealing technology, and they were not penalized with the World Series. They were able to keep the rings. They kept all the bonuses from that and all the money and everything that came with it, which a lot of players, fans, and even myself think it's kind of ridiculous that they were able to cheat and then keep the World Series title that they MLB confirmed that they cheated to win. So no players were given any suspensions either, even though they were the ones that benefited from it the most. A lot of players won awards. They won most valuable players, batting titles, stuff like that, which also comes with bonus money. None of them were punished. It's unclear why, but no one really knows. So as a result from this, obviously pitchers who were pitching against the Astros, they lost their jobs at some point because they weren't pitching as well against these teams they would face a lot, and they didn't know why, but the Astros basically cheated them out of their own job, out of their dream. The scandal also shed light on another potential cheating scandal going on in baseball, which is with the Boston Red Sox. As I mentioned in Alex Cora before, he was the manager for the Red Sox from 2018 to 2019. When these allegations against the Red Sox were going on. That investigation is still ongoing and there's no results from that, but it is highly believed that they were also cheating and doing something similar to what the Astros were doing. Now, this is important because teams that cheat like that, they shouldn't be rewarded to keep their World Series titles, and they shouldn't get off that easy, in my opinion. They screwed a lot of players out of their jobs. They just cared about no one but themselves, and they didn't really get a harsh punishment. Yeah, the coaches got suspended. They were fined $5 million, but in the grand scheme of things, if a team has to pay $5 million and lose their coach to win a World Series, which is what players work their entire life for, I think any team would do that any day. And I think in the future, MLB needs to crack down on it more and suspend players, ban players, whatever they need to do to ensure this doesn't happen again, because I think what they did really just gave other teams a thought like, hey, if this is all we're going to get for stealing signs and know what pitch is coming every time, they'll do it, because $5 million, lose a coach, anyone is going to do that any day in sports, I feel like. So the next scandal I'm going to talk to you guys about is the steroid scandal. This was a major thing in the late 90s and into the 2000s, where players would inject themselves with steroids, and doing so, it made them muscular, obviously, and that helped them with their power. They could hit balls further. Home runs increased drastically from 1993 to 2002 compared to 1983 to 1992. There were almost 1,000 more home runs hit in the 1993-2002 span, and it's another thing. It's an unfair advantage. This wasn't a team-wide thing. Individual players would make the decision themselves to do this, and their teammates would resent them for it, but players thought they want to help themselves, they want to help their stats, and they also want to help their team, so they thought it would be a good idea to do so. Obviously, MLB began cracking down on it. Initially, they were giving lenient suspensions, maybe 10, 20 games here. Once the government got involved, they performed an investigation. Players began getting suspended 80 games, full seasons, lifetime bans. They've really cracked down on it since then. Some players who are also considered like idols, like Mark McGwire, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Barry Bonds, all these guys, they've all been linked to steroid use at some point in their career, and a lot of them been almost barred from the Hall of Fame. So, as I said with the U.S. investigation, Senator George Mitchell performed an investigation known as the Mitchell Report. Some of you may know it, and it concluded that 89 players were linked to using steroids at some point in that between the late 90s and the mid-2000s. Active players who were in the report were suspended, and retired players have had their reputation tarnished. They've had trouble getting into the Hall of Fame, and basically their career is just a giant asterisk now. No one knows what's true with how they performed and what's not, what was with steroids, what wasn't. So it really tarnished all these players who did it, but honestly, it's for the best. These players should not be valued like that if they have to cheat to perform well. So the fallout from that, players are now regularly drug tested for steroids. Suspensions have increased drastically. Like I said, now if you get caught using steroids, the first time, 80-game suspension. The second time is a full season. The third time, you're banned for life. No questions asked. That's it. And yeah, so the steroids, they've gone away a good amount. There's still players who use them here and there, but it's not nearly as much as it used to be, at least not known of. It's possible players are still doing it and able to conceal it in their drug tests, but as far as we know, players are not using steroids as much as they used to. So those are two scandals I talked about, and I think they're both very important. As a big baseball fan, I just hate cheating in general, and seeing what the Houston Astros did and the whole steroid thing, it just makes you not enjoy the game as much. In fact, customer satisfaction index in Major League Baseball dropped drastically after the steroid scandal, and it's too early to say with the Houston Astros scandal, but I think the numbers will be very similar, because really the past 2 years, the Houston Astros were an excellent team. They won the World Series one year they were cheating, and they almost made it the second year, and they lost to the Boston Red Sox, who most likely were also cheating. That's still under investigation, but it's safe to assume. And it just really makes you think the last 2-3 years, you don't know what's true, what's not, and it really just makes a fan lose interest. And I think commissioners of all sports where there's any type of cheating like this need to crack down on it and hand down harsh suspensions to deter teams, players from ever cheating again. Because if you just give them a little slap on the wrist, they'll think, okay, well, if that's all we get, then we'll just keep doing this and nothing bad will happen. Until they crack down on it, nothing will come of it. So that's the end of my speech. Now, to generate class discussion, I made a list of questions here. I doubt you can see them, but I'll read them off to you. And I was hoping to generate discussion like this, and I think it would really work well. So the first one is, which of the two scandals were worse? In your opinion, the steroid scandal, where individual players tried to gain an advantage, or the Astros sign stealing scandal, where the entire team tried to gain an advantage? Why do you pick your answer? And I would expect most of the class to say the Houston Astros sign stealing scandal, just because that was a collective effort by the entire team to cheat and win. The steroid scandal is very bad in my opinion too, and can't really justify it at all. But at least this wasn't like a whole team thing. Like the whole team wasn't shooting up with steroids before a game. The Houston Astros designed this. They set up a camera in their field to be locked on the catcher's signs, and it's just not fair to the pitchers who lost their jobs, the pitchers who lost money in their contracts because their stats weren't as good because they were cheated. They were playing cheaters. And it really just goes a lot further, in my opinion. So the second question, do you think the punishments were fair for the rules broken? That being the Astros punishment where the coaches both got suspended. They were fined $5 million and they lost draft picks. Or the steroid scandal where players are getting suspended 80 games, full seasons, and lifetime bans. And then the last question would be, how can organizations reduce the amount of rule breaking that's occurring in the past? And I think, in my opinion, I know it's a question for the audience, but I think in my opinion, they just have to crack down on it more and give harsher punishments. Like you see with steroids, players are being suspended even longer now. It's not 10 or 20 games anymore. Now it's half a season, first time it happens. And I think that's why you see steroid use going down so much, because players don't want to risk using steroids, and then if they get caught once, they're out half the season. If they're someone who got caught before and they get caught again, they're gone for a full season. It's just not worth it anymore, and they need to make that with every major rule that's been broken. They need to make it so it's not worth breaking again. Otherwise, teams will continue doing it. They'll find ways around it, and it's just going to continue. Sports are meant to be enjoyed by fans and stuff, and you don't want the reputation of the game tarnished because of something like that. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay safe and stay healthy.